Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So this one just happened last week. My father and I had just come from a dental checkup. We are thinking since it was still early we'd hit the Jamba Juice a few blocks away. So we travel along a long street that leads to a usually busy intersection. Suddenly, we hear a siren. Being the good drivers we are, we pull to the side and eventually stop at the corner of the intersection. We keep searching for the police car, listening for it as it sounds closer. And suddenly, we hear the growl of a muscle car. There is a flash as something speeds past us. Seriously, on a residential street. And then it happens. The muscle car slams into a police vehicle, basically T-boning it. We watch as a police car is being pushed and slid sideways. It slams into a third car, only knocking it away. My father and I look shocked first at each other, then at the cars again. My father and I look shocked first at each other, then at the cars again. We park our car and run immediately. We started running and we split up to check both drivers. Cop's okay, a little dazed, but he'll go on protecting tomorrow. Then we check on the muscle car guy. He's fine, but he's more shaken up about his car than the accident he just caused. The cop starts doing his cop thing, checking everything, looking at everything. The muscle car jerk notices a crowd forming on the sidewalks. Cars are parked and the cops is still taking notes before he asks anyone. The muscle car jerk starts running to the first group of people. Yeah, I was surprised too. He's getting in everyone's faces in that crowd and asking them something. Then comes his yelling and him saying, "Come on, you saw it. Report it, right?" The muscle car jerk goes back to group 1 and tries again to talk to them. They are waving him off to stay away, I'm guessing. He runs over to Group B, same story ending with him yelling, "Isn't anyone gonna say what really happened?" The cop goes to talk to Group 1, and as he starts, 2 muscle car jerks run to a parked motorist nearby trying to, I'm guessing, solicit support. He runs over to my father as the cop starts talking to the parked motorists. He yells, "Damn it, no one wants to say." He runs to me and this exchange starts. "Did you see what happened?" he asks me. "Huh? Dude, did you see what happened?" Well, I have Asperger's, so me responding right away is sort of tough. "Habla inglés." I'm Hispanic. "Sir, I can understand you fine, but what do you mean I saw?" "Saw how that cop raced through here? He didn't have the right of way. Look, he raced through there. The light was red for him, so there is no way." I'm sorry to tell you this, but he cuts me off and raises his voice. "You saw him cause a crash. The cop ran the red light. You can be my witness." I'd hate to break this to you, but his sirens were going and his lights were on. He was racing to some kind of… "Damn it! Does everyone need glasses around here? Look, you gotta be my witness, and… Sir, you really don't want me to speak on your behalf because I'm going to defend the cop here. Look, it's us against them." "Who?" "It's us against her." I raised my hand to stop him. "No, I'm going to tell the truth, as far as I'm concerned, he was sped pretty fast for a residential street. And also during the wrong time." "Total jerk." Of course he used another insult. The muscle car jerk runs on to try to find someone else to get on his side. So I yell, "Have them check the traffic cams then." "Just shut up." My father and I drove off after giving a statement. I had to go back to the police station again today. No idea of the aftermath, but the muscle car jerk surely made the local news. Context: names and some details changed for privacy. I'm a professional attorney, wrangler for a big legal firm. If you've watched Suits, I'm Donna if she would wound tighter than a child's music box. As a legal admin, I have to keep a tremendous amount of information straight. Every country and every US state has their own court system, their own rules, and their own idiosyncrasies. I have 5 attorneys on my team. Despite the TV shows, It's pretty unusual for a lawyer to have a special secretary all their own unless they are very important. So 5 is a solid number. Because of the nameless deaths that took over the world the last year, a secretary that left in January 2020 has not been replaced yet. And I've been babysitting one of the partners, Bingley, in the meantime. It's been a fun learning opportunity, as Bingley works for an entirely different region and type of law than the rest of my team. Also, he has a case where a truck exploded. It was empty, which is awesome. The story. My manager, Lady Catherine, is the worst. You know the type, she plays favorites, her best loved word is no, and she must be involved in every conversation because she's just that important and necessary. We don't get along because I'm a stubborn know-it-all who's been proven right a few too many times. Highlights include forbidding me from using the same resources other admins had access to, on her orders, including backup admins when my workload was too big, and then denying my overtime requests. I literally had no way to do my job some days. It's worth noting that the reason Bingley's secretary left was specifically because of Lady Catherine. In fact, 4 additional admins quit over the year explicitly because of her. Anyway, at this point I've been working with Bingley for almost a year. It was November 2020 and we'd settled into a pretty good routine. I'd gotten used to filing pleadings in a different state and no longer needed to double-check all my work for nuisance. Because law still operates in the Stone Ages, a few US states still require hard copy filing. Anything we want the judge to read has to be sent by actual mail, on actual paper, to arrive in a judge's actual hands. It's a pain. Most states let you file electronically, but whatever. Bingley mostly only has cases in one of the hard copy states. Lady Catherine, in her excessive wisdom, butted in uninvited and instructed me to include the cover letter when mailing new filing. This confused me as I have been filing for almost a year and no one, including the admin who originally trained me, had mentioned the cover letter. I told her this and she basically told me to suck it up. I called the court admin to make sure I wasn't crazy and that I hadn't ruined a year's worth of filings, and the court admin literally laughed and said to please not to include the cover letter ever. So I didn't. Imagine my surprise when Lady Catherine called me, writing me up for insubordination. Even knowing the court rules and the judge and the court admin explicitly said to not send a damn letter. She was right, because she's always right, and I quote, "a disrespectful little crap, and she was tired of me." A warning went into my employee file pending disciplinary measures. The next day, she emailed my team telling them to reduce my score on my yearly review, as she knew I had been rated too highly for what my abilities really are. It felt to me like she was preparing to fire me by creating a history of poor performance. Well, if you're so tired of me, Madam Manager, I can leave. Within a week of looking, I found a new position. Now, here is the issue. I freaking love my team. This is the best work team I've ever been on. We take each other seriously and we genuinely love each other. A lot of times admins get pushed around because we don't have fancy degrees, but not here. Calling in to quit, I cried a lot. I cried to the point that one of the partners, Annette, asked if I wanted a counter-offer. I said no, because that wouldn't solve anything. He asked what I meant. I told him about the write-up. I told him how she was trying to falsify my employee review after it had been submitted. I told him the reason 5 admins had left. I told him about how I wasn't allowed to ask for help. At this point, I had given myself hiccups from weeping, and one of the partners of my team, Gardner, was calling him asking if he and his workload were the reasons I was leaving. So Bennett let me go do other things, like they drink and create a shrine out of legal forms. I thought it was the end of it, until a friend in another office, Charlotte, called me asking what the hell I was doing. She doesn't have time to train someone into being the new me. And I was the only admin she actually trusts in my office, so why was I leaving her all alone? I told her, and she told Gardner, and together they plotted. First, Charlotte is a manager in her office, so she's on equal footing with Lady Catherine. They also report to the same person. Charlotte called the district manager and told him that Lady Catherine was driving admins away and that the most recent quitter, me, was the only person who knows how to do a lot of the work on my teams. And my loss was a serious blow. Apparently this is true, which is both heartwarming and terrifying. Meanwhile, Gardner called up a fellow partner and told her that his world would collapse in on itself if I left. He will go to the nearest bridge and jump off it, which would be pretty impressive in a landlocked state. They had to do something. I got a call the next day from Bennett, saying they had a counter offer they were really hoping I would take. Basically, instead of Lady Catherine, I would report directly to Gardner. Lady Catherine would be forbidden from interfering with me without first asking Gardner for his permission. This solved the issue and I got to stay with my team, so I happily accepted. I thought the debacle was over, but the debacle was not over. Unbeknownst to me, after looking at the evidence, exit interviews, emails, memos, Bennett put Lady Catherine on a performance improvement plan, and she did not get an end-of-year bonus or raise. Turns out I have been absolutely correct. Lady Catherine's behavior and treatment had been the explicit cause that 6 secretaries quit in less than a year. I got a call last week from Charlotte. I figured she wanted to gossip about co-workers or rant about how a shared client is a big old headache. But it was actually to give me a heads up. Lady Catherine had been stripped of her management duties. I no longer had any contact with her, which was great, but it also meant I didn't see that her behavior had actually doubled down on the admins, unfortunate enough to still be under her thumb. She had missed every single one of the pinch marks on her performance improvement plan. Charlotte had called me to ask my opinion on who should be the new manager, as I know everyone and she was helping cover some things as an outside manager. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yes, become the manager and fire Lady Catherine, but I'm not a sadist. I want to stay on my team and do what I do best, which is being a cheerfully annoying, respectful little crap. I told her one of the more senior admins will probably need some guidance, but will be amazing at it. No one has to deal with Lady Catherine anymore. She is now a mere paralegal and not anyone's manager at all. If she had just left me alone and not interfered where she wasn't needed, none of this would have happened. All she had to do was nothing. I worked as a tennis court attendant for 7 years as a summer job, so I've got a lot of stories like these. But this one is one of the ones that stick out to me. My job was to stay in front of the courts during the busy hours and check for memberships to grant access to the court. What often got me and my fellow attendants into conflict is that, for some stupid reason, the town placed us at public courts. I live in a relatively rich area in my state, so as you can probably tell, there is bound to be a lot of entitlement. Okay, now on to the story. It was a night shift at the park that I hated working at cause that's where the worst of the entitled people show up. 2 boys, one who was a year younger than me. I was going into my senior year of high school at the time, who we will call Jerk, and one who was maybe in his early 20s who we will call Jack. They walk up to the courts. I ask Jerk and Jack for their IDs, and they blatantly ignore me and walk right on. I follow them to try and tell them they cannot go on the courts without the ID, still smug and ignoring me. I reiterate to Jerk and Jack one more time, and then they finally acknowledge my existence. They then say, "Oh, it's fine for us to play. We're state-renowned players, and belong to 7 different country clubs and blah blah blah." I keep my professionalism and told them that it doesn't matter, and that these are rules that are implemented by the town. And Jerk and Jack straight up say they don't care. At this point, their arrogance and entitlement was really getting under my skin, as they talked to me like they were kings of the world and I was a mere peasant. It's then that a kind gentleman, who we will call Tom, who knew the rules and respected them, jumped to my aid. He started talking to these kids, telling them that these are the rules and they need to abide by them and get out of the court. But they still refused. Now Tom either had a shorter fuse than me, or Jerk and Jack's entitlement and arrogance level raised tenfold. But soon it turned into a screaming match. Tom scolding the boys and Jerk and Jack sitting there smug-faced and not even fazed as he goes off on them. Soon Tom's tennis buddy, who we will call David, came over and tried to calm Tom down. So here is the thing. This job sometimes gets bad enough that the police need to be called. One of my co-workers was physically assaulted later that week for just enforcing the rules. She quit right after. So Tom called him once David calmed him down a bit. Jack and Jerk reluctantly got off the court at that point, but started harassing me until the cops came. But here is the thing. Once my shift ends, no one else shows up. So at that point I say to people, if you want to come after my shift, I'm off the clock, so there is nothing me or anyone can do to stop you from going on. My shift ended at 9:15. I told this to Jerk and Jack, and once again, the entitlement kicks in. And while they harass me, they say they are going on at 9. I tell them no, you gotta wait until my shift is over. They continue to tell me otherwise as if they own the place. That is until the cops come. Tom and I filled in the cops about the situation. I told the cops Jack and Jerk's options, which the cops then told Jack and Jerk to abide by the rules and not go on until 9:15 p.m. They, having no other choice, agreed. They, however, spent the last hour of my shift rallying a tennis ball in front of the court entrance, right in front of me, and were harassing and crap-talking me right in my face. Finally, an hour of harassment, 9:15 rolls by, and in the most arrogant, smug, entitled voice, Jack and Jerk ask if they can go on the court. Absolutely exhausted and defeated, I quietly say yes. But before they do, my co-worker who knew of the situation came over to Jack and Jerk, confronted them, which then they deal the same level of entitlement to them, and it turns into another screaming match with my co-worker scolding them, and still Jerk and Jack unfazed. So here is how bad the situation of entitlement was. My co-worker said to me straight up that she is lucky I was working that night because if she was, then she'd be in jail for attempting to take one of their tennis rackets and shoving it up their butt. How I did this job for 7 years is beyond me. All I know is I wanna get the hell out of this town. I have lots of other stories if anyone is interested. Update. I couldn't believe it when I saw them again. Jerk and Jack, walking towards the courts with their tennis bags slung over their shoulders. My heart sank as I realized that they were going to try and pull the same entitled crap as last time. I mustered up my courage, then approached them, asking for their IDs. They just coughed at me and tried to walk right past me. I stood my ground and told them that they couldn't play without their IDs. Jerk and Jack just laughed at me and insulted me to my face. I was about to call the cops when they started getting aggressive this time. Jerk shoved me out of the way and said, "We don't have to listen to you, you little twerp." I was shocked and scared, but I managed to call the cops and tell them what was happening. Jerk and Jack were still trying to get on the court, even though the cops were on their way. They were shouting and cursing at me, telling me that I was a worthless loser and that they were going to sue me for harassment. Finally, the cops arrived and took them away in handcuffs. It turned out that I could press charges on them for shoving me and harassing me while doing my job. I was so relieved that they were gone. But I also felt angry and frustrated that they had been able to get away with their entitled behavior for so long. After that incident, I made a decision to quit my job as a tennis court attendant. I realized that it wasn't worth putting myself in danger just to enforce some stupid rules for entitled people. I found a new job in a different town and have never looked back. But sometimes when I'm feeling nostalgic, I think back to those days and wonder if things have changed at all. I still have plenty of stories from my time as a tennis court attendant, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to relive them just yet. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.